Well, I first learned about the SoTL conference when it had its inaugural meeting here in, I think that was 2005, it might have been 2004, pretty sure 2005. I was newly in the tenure track, and one of my colleagues in sociology, I'm in social work, but I know a lot of people in sociology, and they said, hey, I think you might like this. So I wandered into it's the International Society of the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning, wandered into that conference that was in the Union Building, and I looked around at these posters and heard these people speaking, and I said, I have no idea what people are talking about. It was like, Dorothy being in Oz. I don't know what's going on here, but I like it. It's fascinating. Well, I was very much in the private and informal area. I remember, in 1979, I know people were studying teaching and learning, but I wasn't a part of that, and I had no supervision. And actually, my best feedback was from my students. This is embarrassing, but it's true, I used to sit at a desk in the front of a classroom full of rows of 40 people, and I would read from the teacher's manual. I had no idea what I was supposed to do. And one student very kindly came up to me after a few weeks and said, could you bring in some outside information sometimes that isn't in the textbook? I'm like, sure, I could do that. Didn't know that was a thing. I could do that. And so I started doing that, and then at one point the same student came up to me and said, could you stand up, because it's hard to see you when you're sitting down. I had no clue. The only models I had were the people who had taught me, and I wasn't really putting together what I thought was really effective about how they taught me. So it was very much the closed door and the private, the personal, the almost hidden and almost shameful, embarrassing kind of aspect of teaching. I'm very much in the public and systematic realm. SoTL is a systematic collection of data and evaluation and use of data to improve our teaching, and I appreciate that very much, because I want to try new things and see if they work, and then evaluate them and then put them back into the cycle if they work. And I'm very much into the public realm because I'm always talking about teaching on every level with my friends, with my colleagues, nationally, internationally, and so forth. I really felt ineffective. I felt, some of the things I did worked, but I didn't know why, or I didn't even know how much, or with whom, or in what context did they work. And I was uncomfortable with being so uninformed. I think I started with talking with people, but then also reading the literature. It's so important to read what other people are doing, both in my field and outside of my field. People doing work in physics can really inform my teaching in social work, history, all sorts of different disciplines. So reading my own discipline's teaching journals, but also reading interdisciplinary journals and going to conferences and just soaking up as much as I could. In 2005, I was asked to teach an online child welfare class, and I'd never taught online, and I felt like one of my strengths as a teacher was the face-to-face interaction and the presence that I brought to the classroom and that my students brought, and the engagement that I could create in that face-to-face environment. And when I contemplated teaching online, I had this litany in my head: the social distance, social distance, social distance. Like that, I don't know where that came to me, but I was so worried about social distance. And I started searching in the literature, and I found social presence. And that is social presence in an online setting. And that led me to some articles. I used that as well as consultation with colleagues who taught online about, and teaching learning centers, about how to design an online class so that there is social presence and you minimize social distance. And then I evaluated the effectiveness of different aspects. What effect does the discussion forum have? What effect do mini papers have? What effect does this have or that have? And that led to my first published articles in SoTL. So I've done a lot of SoTL that has looked at my individual courses. In addition to the online child welfare course, which I don't teach anymore, I teach a research course that I have studied extensively, I've published on. I've done a lot of presentations on that for social work faculty. But I'm moving out of the my classroom as the unit of study to more of a macro, more of a bird's eye view. I have two projects now on that level. One is I'm looking at the effectiveness of using big data, student learning analytics, in helping people improve their classes, helping the university improve its delivery, and as well as promoting student success. Student success is extremely important for all students, but particularly for marginalized students. And being from social work, that's a real passion of mine. So that's one project. The other project is looking at what helps faculty develop their classes more effectively and what helps them become scholarly teachers, as well as what helps them do SoTL. Is it more financial rewards that the university might give, or is it more social rewards? And spoiler alert, in the study that we've just completed and we're writing up now, we're finding that actually social rewards are more effective. I mean, people like the financial rewards. I like the monetary rewards. But it's so isolating to be alone in your classroom. I mean, you're there with your students, but the door is closed, and to get out of that and to be in a community where you get to talk about teaching. We're not usually really encouraged to talk about teaching at a Research One university. We're really encouraged to talk about our research, and having the opportunity every now and then to talk about teaching is a wonderful thing. I'd like to quote David Pace, who's very well known in the field of the scholarship of teaching and learning. He gave a talk at IU a few years ago in which he said that teaching is like going to the bathroom, that you do it with the door closed, everybody does it, nobody talks about it. And what we're trying to do, we'd like to keep the door closed in the bathroom, but we'd like to open the door into the classroom and have it be something that isn't private and shameful, but something public and talked about. Talking to people at the Teaching and Learning Center, talking to SoTL researchers. I've been a part of a lot of groups talking about SoTL. And of course, reading the literature. It's a wonderful resource. I really wish that I had joined a writing group early on in my career. I think it would have helped some of the isolation.